The whole day of Yom Kippur is holiness. That's the mark of this day. And we inhabit on this day of Yom Kippur what is known as Kedushat Hayom, the very holy essence of this day. It's we can dwell in time in this day, dwell in the holiness, the pure holiness of this day. We don't work, we don't eat, we don't drink, we don't do the normal things that we do. We just dwell in this day, in the prayers, in the reflection. And in the holiness of this day, the moment of Yizkor is a holy of holies. A holy of holies that we enter now at this moment of Yizkor. Because memory is a very holy thing. The things that we remember, we're going to remember, are holy, are our loved ones. Those who gave us life, those who gave life to those who gave us life, those whom we loved, those to whom we were tied by links of brotherhood and sisterhood, and in some cases, tragically, we remember children to whom some of us here gave life. It's a very sacred moment in which to exercise our memory. And the memory of this moment that we are going to enter into is quite complex, because it has so many profound emotions. It has love and reverence and gratitude and longing and nostalgia and also regret. And there is pain. And there's often an amount of resentment and anger. And there are wounds, in some cases, that never closed. There are wounds that closed and became reopened. All these emotions are part of this moment, and we hold them all together at once. Some more, some less, but all of them together in this moment of memory. And we think about also legacy. What's the legacy of those who we remember today? Sometimes legacy is a wonderful thing. It pushes us forward to do things we didn't think we could ever think of doing. And sometimes legacy is a burden, because it's things that we can't do. We can't bring ourselves to do. We feel powerless, or we don't want to take on the part of the legacy of the loved ones that sometimes is challenging, difficult, destructive. So memory can be heavy. Memory can also be sweet and soothing and liberating and open up things for us. I think I said a couple of times, I heard that memory can be cruel, because we forget sometimes what we wish we could remember, and we remember things we'd like to forget. And then we have to make a choice of all the things that are stored in our memory. What do we choose to highlight? What do we choose to downplay? How do we remember? What are the stories that we choose to carry forward? Which are the stories we prefer to leave behind? And we have that power. And then, as we exercise our memory at this moment of Yizkor, we also may want to ask ourselves, how will we be remembered? How do we want to be remembered? It's a very generative question in terms of how we want to live from now on, how we want to be remembered. I'm not going to speak for long. I just want to share with you, and Felicia is doing the same in Jazz at Lincoln Center, these two poems, just two poems by the great Yehuda Amichai, the great Israeli poet, who left an amazing corpus of poetry. And among all these poems, I mean, he has many poems about memory and many poems about death. But he has two poems. I want for you to follow the reading of the poem about his parents. Not the first one, you can study that later, but just the one about the mother and the father. My mother was a prophet and didn't know it. Not like Miriam, the prophetess, dancing with cymbals and tambourines. Not like Deborah, who sat under the palm tree and judged the people. Not like Huldah, who foretold the future, but my own private prophet, silent and stubborn. I am obliged to fulfill everything she said, and I am running out of lifetime. My mother was a prophet when she taught me the do's and don'ts of every day. Paper verses for one-time use. You'll be sorry. You'll get exhausted. That will do you good. You'll feel like a new person. You'll really love it. You won't be able. You won't like that. You'll never manage to close it. I knew you wouldn't remember, wouldn't forget. Give, take, rest. Yes, you can. You can. And when my mother died, and all her little predictions came together in one big prophecy that will last until the vision or the end of days. My father was God and did not know it. He gave me the 10 Commandments, not in thunder, not in anger, not in fire, and not in a cloud, but gently and with love. He added caresses and tender words. Would you, and please, enchanted Zachor v'Shamor, remember and keep, with the same tune, and pleaded and wept quietly between one commandment and the next. Thou shalt not take the name of thy Lord in vain. Shalt not take, not in vain. Please don't bear false witness against your neighbor. And he hugged me tight and whispered in my ear, thou shalt not steal, shalt not commit adultery, shalt not kill. And he laid the palms of his wide open hands on my head with a Yom Kippur blessing. Honor, love, that thy days may be long upon this earth. And the voice of my father white as his hair. Then he turned his face to me one last time, as on the day he died in my arms, and said, I would like to add 2 more commandments. The 11th commandment, thou shalt not change. And the 12th commandment, thou shalt change. You will change. Thus spoke my father, and he turned and walked away and disappeared into his strange distances. I think these are 2 extraordinary poems. These are 2 regular people. They're not important people, known people, famous people. They're not celebrities. They are, for their son, a prophet, and a God. The dimension that some of our loved ones take in our lives. Ordinary people. I've been here for many years, and I have to tell you that one of the most significant, meaningful, and moving parts of my work, of my service, is to go to funerals and houses of Shiva. I've been to the funeral of many of your loved ones, or to the house of mourning for many of your loved ones. And I tell you, you hear extraordinary stories of people who do amazing things in this world. People who are flawed and limited. People who have tons of shortcomings. And yet, they're heroes. They do just amazing things. You know how many prophets and how many gods there are in ordinary life, like Amichai's mother and father? And so we sit with our memory and think about those things in our loved ones. Which are the memories which are prophetic? Which are the memories which are commanding? Just sit with those questions as you think of your loved ones. Which are the things you still feel obliged to fulfill that were left, that were said by those whom we loved? Which are the prophecies? Which are the commandments? I love the softness of this relationship here with his father. Which are the people who, it's not always the case that all of us had fathers who were that soft. But who are the people in our lives who provided the caresses and the softness? Perhaps a teacher, perhaps a grandparent. Thou shalt not change. Who are the people who wouldn't want us to change? Who are the people who wanted us to change and to evolve? So I'm leaving you with all these questions as we sit in silence for a few moments and go into this sacred moment, the Kodesh Kodashim of Yom Kippur, to sit, the Holy of Holies, of memory and remembrance, and hopefully of deep love.